Yeah, this should be good for us.
Yep.
This meeting of the Rolling Meadows City Council is hereby called to order. Would everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Cannon is absent. Prana.
Here.
Majikis.
Here.
Judd.
Here.
Baner.
Here.
Diestis.
Absolutely.
Veenbos.
Present.
With 6 present and 1 absent, there is a quorum present this evening. Therefore, members of the audience are reminded that these proceedings are being videotaped for current and future broadcast over the city's cable television channel. The first item on the agenda this evening is a motion to approve 2 sets of minutes from the December 15th Committee of the Whole meeting and the December 22nd Council meeting. Therefore, the chair asks unanimous consent for both sets of minutes to be considered in one motion. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, the chair declares it in order for a motion to approve both sets of minutes. Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to either set of minutes? Then seeing none, the question is, shall both sets of minutes be adopted? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and both sets of minutes are approved. Under the mayor's report, I don't really have anything because on January 12th, it seems stale to still be saying Happy New Year to people, but it is the first meeting of the new year, so Happy New Year, everybody. Are there ward reports? Mr. Prana of the 2nd Ward.
Thank you. Just some kudos to Public Works. Before all this snow and stuff hit, we had some small minor potholes in the subdivision, and between the weather, they were able to get them patched up and make some people happy. The second part of it is that I did go to a very nice Christmas party on Sunday at the Historical Society, and in the tradition of our mayor, I ate more Christmas cookies than I should have. So the Rolling Meadows Historical Society did a great job. It was nice to see lots of people there. So just wanted you to know I held up the tradition.
Much appreciated. My younger son is not going to let me forget that I wasn't able to attend this year because not only do I eat more cookies traditionally than I should, they load me up with more cookies than they should to bring home for him. And since this was probably the first year in about 4 years that I haven't been able to attend, he's not letting me forget it either. So thank you, Mr. Prana. Are there other ward reports this evening? Then seeing none, there are also no signatories on the sign-in sheet for public comment for this evening's meeting, so the council may proceed right to its agenda. The first item on that agenda is item A, in for second reading. There are 2 items that are in for second reading. The first one, if adopted, would approve a change to the existing sign at the Motel 6 located at 1800 Winnetka Circle. The lower portion of the sign would be allowed to include a changeable but static display for the current room price only. The Plan Commission has considered this request and unanimously recommended its approval with conditions, and those conditions have been incorporated into the ordinance. So therefore, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mayor.
Ms. Majikis has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Prana.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Judd.
Yes.
Bancher.
Yes.
Diestis.
Yes.
Veenbos.
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. The second item in for second reading is item B. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve the plans for a second 4-level parking structure at the Gallagher Building property located at 2850 Gulf Road. A parking structure has already been approved on the west side of the building, and Gallagher is requesting a similar structure on the east side. The Plan Commission has also considered this request and has unanimously recommended its approval with conditions, and those conditions have been incorporated into the ordinance. Therefore, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diestis has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Prana.
I just want to tell the folks from Gallagher that I like your dedication, because on a night like this, I wasn't even trying to determine whether I wanted to come out here. So welcome, Gallagher.
You certainly are, and we certainly appreciate your keeping an eye on the process. Further discussion of the ordinance. Then seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. There are no items in for first reading this evening. Therefore, the council moves to the warrant, the document that releases all the funds for the obligations of the city that were incurred from December 16th through January 5th. The amount for approval is nearly $4.5 million, roughly 1/4 of which is related to the payroll. This unusually high dollar amount is primarily due to debt service payments and an annual liability insurance payment. Is there a motion to approve the warrant as prepared by the Finance Department? Mrs. Majikis has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the warrant? Seeing none, the question is, shall the warrant be approved? The clerk will please call the roll.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, the warrant is approved. Under the consent agenda for resolutions, there are only 2, so if either is removed, there is no longer a consent agenda. Would any alderman like item D or E removed from the consent agenda for resolutions? Mr. Judd?
D.
Then therefore, we have no consent agenda and will proceed in order. Therefore, item D, this resolution, if adopted, would approve a contract with Advanced Cleaning Systems of South Barrington to provide cleaning services for the 3 city buildings. The annual amount of the contract is roughly $54,000 and will be paid from the Building and Land Fund. Advanced Cleaning Systems was not the low bidder, but is the vendor recommended by staff. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Mr. Judd, you asked that it be pulled. You're entitled to first comments if you wish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand everything that's written in here. I actually had a meeting with the city manager, I don't know, it was September, October, and, saw some of the things that they had done. So the fact that the service that we have now is not up to snuff, I don't disagree with. And I'm not opposed to them saying we're not going to take the lowest bidder for that specific reason. Where I have the concern is the fact that we only got one other proposal, and it was 45% higher. And so, the fact that there's got to be numerous companies out there that can do things, to only end up with one just is a little disturbing to me at 45% higher. I mean, if it was 5% or 10%, I wouldn't care. But, from $3,100 to $4,500 a month, that's a significant increase. So for that reason, I won't support. Thank you.
Further discussion of the resolution? Seeing none, the question is, shall the resolution be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Baner?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
No.
With 5 in favor and 1 opposed, this resolution is adopted. The final resolution on the agenda is Resolution E. This resolution, if adopted, would approve a contract with HBK Water Meter Service of Rolling Meadows to install approximately 4,000 smart water meters in the city. The amount of the contract is just over $100,000 and is to be paid from the Water Fund. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall the resolution be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and none opposed, the resolution is adopted. That concludes all of the ordinances and resolutions that are in the regular business portion of tonight's meeting. Under other business and reports, there is a proclamation, and I haven't done one of these before, meaning I'm actually informing the council after the fact rather than before the fact, but that was done with a specific purpose, meaning the intention was to surprise John Connor at St. Colette Church. And so our opportunity to issue a proclamation at the last meeting in 2015 would have spoiled the whole thing. And so when a member of our Veterans Committee approached me, who also happens to be the pastor of my church, and said, hey, could we do some kind of a proclamation for John Connor? The first thought that crossed the mind is that we don't usually do this because the intention is not to make mayoral proclamations kind of the Al Roker portion of the show where, significant birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that get mentioned. But it occurred to me fairly quickly that John Connor had served the city in a volunteer but official capacity for a number of years, and it looks like about 16. And I specifically make reference to one of the whereas clauses in the proclamation that says that whereas John Connor officially served the city of Rolling Meadows in a voluntary capacity, first as the city's assistant welfare officer and then as its welfare officer, administering the city's emergency assistance funds. There might be a whole bunch of people who are going, when did we ever have a welfare officer? And when the emergency assistance fund went away from the budget, therefore the position did too. And I remember when it went away. And while it certainly wasn't an intentional oversight, there was no proclamation at that time, like we often do for people who retire or people who get recognized for extra lengthy service to the city. And so while it's not my intention to do this type of thing often, I think Deacon John Connor at St. Colette Church, due to his city service, to me that seemed to be a special case. And so therefore, on January 5th, 1 week ago today, when John turned 90, the surprise had already been broken 2 days before, on Sunday, January 3rd. And we read this proclamation right there at church. And the party that was downstairs, it was read again. And I can tell you it was certainly well received by all. So after the fact, therefore, I, Mayor Tom Rooney of the City of Rolling Meadows, hereby proclaimed, past tense, January 5th, 2016 as John Connor Day in the City of Rolling Meadows, and offer John Connor the thanks of a grateful city which he has served so well. That is the only proclamation, and there are no appointments this evening. Does the city clerk have a report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Then, under the staff reports, we start with community items of interest with Mr. Crumstock.
We actually have 5 different items to do, and the reminder, the Christmas tree disposal is going on, and this will continue until Friday, January 15th. Residents should remove lights, tinsel, ornaments, and place them, the trees at the curb, but doing the cut end on that side, I've been seeing a bunch of the trees the wrong way, so you please put the cut end that way, and it's on your regular refuse day, so please make sure that it is out there. And this Friday is the last chance to put it out there on your refuse day. City Hall will be closed on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and that's Monday, January 18th. There will be regular refuse that day and recycling collection also on that day, so there is no delay in refuse or collection. And obviously, the city, Swank and Elgin Recycling are conducting the Holiday Light Extension Cord recycling that goes all the way until February 12th. And then obviously we just had the open house at the museum, but we do remind people that the museum is on their winter schedule, which means that they're only open on Sundays, and that's from 1 to 4 p.m. Sorry, no more cookies. That was only at the open house. And they are located at 3100 Central Road. And then obviously the last one on the sheet that we have is something that's been coming around throughout newspapers, television, and all throughout the area. Due to the budget impasse in the state of Illinois, you really need to check your vehicle license plate sticker because the state will not be sending out reminders. So again, you need to look for that. You're still, it's still your responsibility. If it expires, you need to get the new sticker. The funny thing about it is that you still need your identification number. So if you don't have that, then you're going to go into the state of Illinois office or the vehicle license plate office and stand in a long line to get your replacement sticker. So figure that one out. But again, if you want additional information on the vehicle license plate sticker renewal, you can always go to the website, which is www.cyberdriveillinois.com. And again, we'll try doing this reminder every so often, just to remind people, because if you get stopped and you don't have a current sticker, that is a moving violation in the police department. So that's it for items of interest.
Then the next item under staff reports is the purchase order disclosures over $2,500. There's just a couple there, Ms. Gallagher.
There are 2 purchase orders for City Council review. Nothing further to note.
Then we can move on to the third report, the time limit for recaptures. Mr. Vogt.
Thank you, Mayor. There's 2 items on the same topic. First being that as we administer some of our infrastructure recaptures for water and sewer and some of these, what we call infill new developments, we're finding that because there weren't time frames for expiration established for a number of the recaptures, that some of these are 30 years old or longer, and staff kind of is of the opinion that there ought to be or should have been some time limit for when a developer can recoup his money. It's difficult to administer things that are that long. In many cases, because keeping touch with people that we don't contact, but in every 10 years or so when something comes up is difficult, and we kind of question the fairness of it not having a end point as well in terms of recouping some money that was invested for water and sewer extensions. Secondly, and you may remember a year ago we discussed a request from a resident who built a single-family home on Brockway Street that was looking for a recapture for the sanitary sewer that was extended. Given that a whole year has passed, and we've worked with that individual and given them a number of options in terms of how they could set up and structure a recapture, staff is also of the opinion that perhaps there ought to be a deadline or time frame established for how long a developer can wait until a recapture is requested. In this case, it's going on, I believe, 7 years since the subject sanitary sewer was installed. So we bring both of these topics to the attention of the council and are just looking for input or feedback. Staff is prepared to work on some ordinance development if council is supportive of moving forward with these.
Is there any discussion of that particular subject? Then the chair would ask, first of all, is there any objection to bringing some type of item forward? Seeing no objection, does the council feel a need to make it something that would be brought to a committee of the whole that could be discussed? Or is it something that we could just simply put in an ordinance form? It gets 2 readings, and that gives people enough time to make amendments if they think the time frame needs to be longer or shorter. That way we don't have to wait for a committee of the whole and then 2 council meetings. It could just be a couple of council meetings. Is there any objection to bringing it forward in ordinance form, knowing that we might play around with it a little bit more than usual? Then seeing no objection, Mr. Vogt. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Judd.
Can I just ask one question?
Certainly.
Thank you,
Certainly.
Mr. Mayor. With not knowing a whole lot about it, and I'm not opposed to any of it, I guess the only question I would have is why would a developer wait 5 or 7 years? I mean, is that, I mean, if you want to make it 2 years, which I think is what you suggested, I'm not opposed to that, but why, what are the rationale for a developer waiting 5 to 7 years? It doesn't make any, I mean, do they have to wait for certain things that this wouldn't allow them to do, or are they just being silly, or, I don't know,
Mr. Vogt.
In the case of Brockway Street, we basically at the staff level advised that home builder that it was possible to request a recapture when they took occupancy. And we occasionally had some contact, but most often the contact was on other things rather than the request for recapture. It wasn't until a home within the potential service area made a application for a permit to connect to the subject sanitary sewer a year and a half ago, roughly, that we began to hear seriously from that property owner that they were interested. So I don't know the reason, other than it was perhaps more than coincidence that until we had someone looking to utilize the sewer, there wasn't a lot of interest to pursue the recapture setup.
Mr. Judd?
I guess my question would be is you mentioned occupancy. If somebody were to build there's not a whole lot of land left, but do like a whatever 4 or 6 lot subdivision and put all this in, but the last, can they get that immediately or after the first house, or do they have to wait till all the houses are done, which might predicate it being over 2 years from the time they're actually done with the sewer to when the last house is sold? Would that make a difference anywhere along the line for
Mr.
that
Vogt?
person?
Thank you, Mayor. It's certainly something we can look at in terms of, developing the ordinance, in terms of identifying that the development needs to be completed, in terms of, if there's 4 lots, all 4 need to be done, or 6, all 6 need to be done, or at some point, if it is rational, even if the first lot perhaps is done, because depending on what infrastructure improvement is extended, there may be others that are anxious to put it in, or may be looking for connection before a recapture is even established. So I think there's a little bit of work that staff would need to do to try to kind of work through a couple of different scenarios in developing the language.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Then, Mr. Vogt, I believe the council is in agreement that you can kind of leapfrog the committee of the whole procedure and simply prepare an ordinance.
Thank you. We will do so.
Then we'll stay with you, I believe, for the Burdick Street Transfer Station lease extension.
Yeah. Thank you again, Mayor. This is just for information for the City Council that per the 1996 lease agreement for our solid waste transfer station on Burdick Street, the current company that runs it, manages it, Advanced Disposal, has exercised their the language in the 1996 lease and is requesting an extension of 5 years for the operation of that facility. There's no action needed on part of council, just for information. Secondly, we are still looking and talking with Advanced Disposal as well as with Swank staff with regards to potentially the city refuse being able to utilize that facility with a waste swap. We've had several good discussions in recent months and look forward to continuing that in 2016.
On that note, in Alderman Cannon's absence, I know that he had expressed a concern that he's not able to express this evening, that it seems like the discussions with Swank to try to move some of our operations to that transfer station have been in the works for quite a long time. And I see Mr. Vogt shaking his head vigorously. And so Mr. Cannon had simply expressed a concern that, so when do the talks stop and when do we arrive at some kind of a solution that we can use? And I believe that point is well taken. Anything else on this item? Then if not, the committee of the whole agenda for next week. Mr. Crumpstock.
Thank you very much. Obviously, we have 5 items at this point in time scheduled. South Bay Partners will be here, introduction and concept about the Dominic's property. They will be back in February too. Fire station discussion and update is scheduled to do that. The city software, that's part of the fiscal year 2016 budget. I'm not making this up, but it's South Park, Salt Creek Park District Stormwater will actually be discussed. And then Alderman Cannon had for time management. Those are the 5 that are scheduled at this point in time. At this point in time, we don't think that we'll add another one. That's why we only had the 5. But if something else crops up, it might be. But this is what we have scheduled to complete.
Then that'll conclude the items under other business and reports. Are there matters not on the agenda before the council this evening? Seeing none, it is in order for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diaz has made the motion and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The council stands adjourned.